How you guys doing, everybody?
What's up, Tom? What's up, Joe?
How's it going, guys?
Pretty good. We had a shockingly beautiful weather this week, man. It high 70s. I actually think it hit 81 the other day.
I was in the 80s yesterday.
Yeah, I was able to get out on my bike. I rode out on the trail for a couple hours. I got to do it while I can, man. There's probably not going to be many weekends like that again for 6 months.
Yeah, probably not. What are you going to do,
Just get ready for the cold and rain all October.
I'd actually rather have it like bitter cold, like February cold, than the kind of 40 degrees and raining. I hate that the worst for some reason.
No, I don't like the bitter cold at all. But I get you. My joints ache when it's rainy and whatever. But yeah, I don't like super bitter cold anymore.
Well, I don't like it either, but like to me too, just the gray depressingness of it, man, bums me out. Like if it's clear skies and freezing, at least for some reason, I seem to handle that better,
Oh yeah, there's a thing about the lack of sun. You get, I forgot what it's, seasonal depression, and seasonal affect disorder, I believe it's called, where if you don't get the sun, you kind of get depressed, and I can see that for sure. But then again, there's areas, I don't know, what is it, Seattle, where they get predominant rainfall, and I'm sure there's other areas as well. Yeah, I was talking to was it you, Joe? No, I don't know. I don't think it was you. No, maybe it was you. About when you live in California or someplace where it's nice all year round, you kind of end up taking it for granted, But we've been lucky, I mean, we do get some storms, storms, but look at these areas that get these crazy hurricanes and the destruction, and it's rough.
Yeah, flooding's the worst, man. I've just had small floods in my basement and stuff, and it's just, oh man, what a drag. Sometimes like the sub pump, we had like power out for 3 or 4 days in one of my neighborhoods, and yeah, just eventually everything in the basement gets trashed. And I can't imagine what it's like for those people on the coast where like you see it going into their first floor and sometimes higher, it just, everything's wrecked, man. That is awful. I don't know how, like, I think this weekend, another hurricane's hitting the south. Like just 6 weeks ago, they had a named storm, and now they're getting hit by another one. I don't know how the people hack it. That's rough.
It already went through Delta. Yeah. Hurricane Delta. But yeah, you got to have flood insurance too, even if you're not, I mean, I know people, I've not personally, but I've read of people who do not live in a flood area, yet they, things happen and you get a flood. They don't have flood insurance, and it's devastating. That's why I would never, well, the way I live, I don't have anything of, super value in the basement, just because everything I have is, on the living floors. I do have stuff in the basement though, that's nice, but it's elevated. It's, like the televisions I have down there are wall mounted, and, and things like that. So even if I did get some water, it's not going to be the end of the world. The bed down there is elevated, but thankfully we're pretty secure here. My basement is pretty waterproofed, and I did have a little water when I first moved in, and the landlord took care of it. So if I do get a little bit, it's like a, like you spilled a glass of water kind of thing. Not a big deal. What's up with you, Nico? Have you officially moved? I mean, I know you moved out, but have you got your permanent digs?
No, I'm still looking for places. So in a transition right now, but I'm glad I got the move over with.
Yeah. Yeah. Moving is it's a big stressful thing. I tend to try to live for a long time in my locations. I don't, I mean, whatever. It's tough. I know people who have moved because of their work. They're moving every year or 2 years. I'm like, wow. Or military people. Think about that. Where you're always constantly moving. It's tough. And that's something that's I don't know. I'm not saying I'm going to live here the rest of my life. I don't know, but as far as a major move like out of Illinois or something drastic like that, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't know, but I don't think so. I don't look forward to that. I did that once coming from from Ohio to Illinois. Yeah, it's tough. It really is.
Did you bring a lot of stuff with you when you moved
No,
from Cleveland?
just what I could fit in my car. And of course I was staying at a motel and I got broken into when I went to the store. So I lost so many mementos that I had from Cleveland. I brought my drums, my accordion got stolen. That's big. And then I had cassette tapes back then, just tons of stuff, audio recordings and just photos. And that just all got stolen. Everything, they took everything, my clothes, and everything.
Oh, man.
Well, that's why I didn't go. I mean, I thought about, hey, I'm going back to Cleveland, but I couldn't. Now I lost everything. I wasn't here long. I'm talking about like 2-3 weeks. So it was not a pleasant start. And
welcome to Chicago.
yeah, and it was technically, I believe that would have been River Grove or Franklin Park, technically, where the motel was. It's still there, but a different name. It used to be called the Lighthouse Lodge Motel. It was River Grove. That's exactly where it was, because I remember having to go to the River Grove Police Department. They never found anything. They think they know who did it. There was a woman there, in the complex, a prostitute apparently in the motel, and they couldn't go in. They didn't have a warrant. There's nothing they could do. So I never got anything recovered. I've been the victim of that. I mean, they stole my Chevelle out of my locked garage in Cleveland. I got a car stolen out here. Yeah, I mean, it's not the first time. They broke into my house in Cleveland when I was there, living there, but I wasn't home. And then when I was living out here, my grandmother was still there, and then they took everything, left, pretty much. So yeah, it's just been, not cool. And when that happens, that's a big violation. You don't really, after it happens so many times, you just start to not get attached to a lot of things. Oh yeah, my basement where I used to live in Elmwood Park too, but that was an inside job, and stuff I had in the storage in the basement. We had a little storage thing, but it was a family member of the landlord, apparently, that, that did it. Never got that stuff back either. So, but anyway, so yeah, just getting ready for the change of seasons. I mean, it is technically fall, but it's going to start catching up with us. I know the weather's going to change probably in a month. We're going to be lucky if we hit the 50s, right?
Yeah.
I used to talk on when I had my Facebook thing every day about learning to train when the weather changes, because your physical attire, your clothing out here. This is in the Midwest, north, areas, northeast, wherever where you have this tremendous change in weather. You got to be prepared for your training changes. Okay, like Joe's talking about riding a bicycle, and that's going to change. And just the articles of clothing that you wear, you got to be prepared for, how to defend yourself when all of that changes. Yeah, it's, that's why we were talking about sub-zero weather, man, I've been out there where it's frigid. I would not want, I don't want to hit people and do things like that when it's like freezing like that, man. Oof. But
everything hurts when it's cold.
It does. Everything does hurt. You become more fragile. You're more inclined to injure yourself. And you got to watch, but again, mental preparedness is something that you can deal with. You can go out there and, and train in this, or even if you, wear your heavy jacket and whatever it is that you wear, you know, your boots and this and that. And even if you're indoors, at least start there, train like that with that heavy clothing on, if that's what you wear, you know, and get used to it. See how difficult it is to move, how restricted you may be, you know, and people don't do that. Well, I shouldn't say people in general. I mean, but a lot of people don't do that. There's rules and regulations at these gyms. And, you know, sometimes you got to reevaluate your rules. You know, like in school, when we used to have field trips, it wasn't like we had field trips every day, but now and then you had a field trip, or now and then, you know, you had a extended recess period. Well, that's what you have to do in your training. You know, even if it's a couple times a month, just allow them to train in street clothes. And, you know, so the people get used to what it's like, you know. Many people have never actually worked out or did anything in a true everyday reality situation. I find that shocking, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, I love working out in the snow. I use a pair of combat boots and I go running and do all kinds of stuff out in the cold weather. And I always love doing that.
Well, you weren't training to fight Ivan Drago, were you?
Yeah. Yeah, I was working out with logs too.
Yeah, there you go.
I think that was my inspiration, Rocky.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm a lot older than you. I was there when the actual Rocky, the first one, came out, and you bet that was an inspiration for me. I was about 12 years old, if I remember correctly. It doesn't matter. I was around that age. And yeah, whew. What a thing. Everybody has something like that. I mean, a lot of movies inspired me. You know, Breaking Away got me really, I used to ride my bike, but that got me into wanting to really be a competitive cyclist. You know, watching that movie. That's still to me a great movie. You know, I love it. And that came out again when I was 14, 15, something like that. Yeah, it was before I had my driver's license. Yeah, and I trained hard, you know, on my cycle when I could in the summer, you know. So yeah, I think everybody they draw some inspiration. I don't know if this is true or if it's publicity, but or PR, public relations. But I remember reading about Charles Atlas and how he got inspired when he visited one of the, you know, the New York Museum of Art or something. And he saw the statues of the Greeks and the Romans, you know, the Hercules and Atlas and all of that. And, you know, that inspired him to want to build his body up. Now, again, it could be hyperbole, but I don't know. There's probably a grain of truth to that. And if it didn't inspire him, I'm sure it inspired others. So sometimes we draw our inspiration, you know, from different sources. You have any inspirations there, Joe, when you were younger, that, you know, movies or something?
Well, Steel Magnolias, those girls were very tough. Have you ever seen that?
No, but I figured it would be something like that. Or maybe, you know, the commercials for the Pillsbury Doughboy, that might have inspired you too.
I am a fan of cookies, so there is probably some inspiration there. But no, actually, the Rocky movies, I'm a sucker for like training montages. So like when he's getting ready and they show him like running and you know, using the sledgehammer in the junkyard, and actually a lot of the stuff he did, this was before primitive training became like trendy like it is now. But you know, like all that kind of stuff was just super exciting to watch and enjoy. I was actually going to bring that up because we were talking about pain training last week. And that was the first introduction I had to the idea of like impact training was watching him. He was like doing sit-ups and his training partner was just slamming him in the stomach, you know, and it kind of like triggered an idea for me. We've had that a few times, like different martial arts where I've trained, like Muay Thai, where we would just kick each other, not 100%, but we'd slowly build up kicking each other in the legs to kind of build that tolerance. I think I learned that not actually from Muay Thai, but from some Bando guys I met one time, that they did a lot of stuff like that, a lot of impact conditioning. But the first time I saw that, or that concept, was in a Rocky movie, you know. So, but definitely, action movies are always a lot of fun. And then watching sports on TV, of course.
Yeah, well, I had already been boxing when the Rocky movies came out, or the first Rocky movie came out. So I had already been um, uh, introduced to that kind of hard type of training because um, there was no gyms or equipment, like we have nowadays. And even so, boxing back then, they were not, most coaches, trainers were opposed to any sort of weightlifting. So you did a lot of homegrown type of stuff, neck bridging and, sit ups and, push ups, just, that kind of stuff. But yeah, it was, the road work probably wasn't, that wasn't the big thing because when I was, we're talking young kids here. We were full of energy, but still running for me, because I had bronchitis really bad, running long distances was always a challenge. I could sprint. Running long distances was, always something I did not look forward to doing. I did not enjoy that. So that was more of a mental pain than it was a physical pain. But yeah, well, everybody has I think sometimes I don't follow the movies now. I mean, I really don't understand, don't understand where, what people are drawing from now because I'm not into it. But yeah, I remember watching the Gene Krupa story. I was a drummer and, that movie inspired me to, I was already playing the drums, but boy, that took it into overdrive. I mean, now I wanted to be this great jazz drummer. And then, so, there's another movie that I guess I could have said I drew inspiration from, but I'm sure I'm forgetting a lot of things. But television shows too, or at least episodes of television sometimes, gave me some inspiration. But too, you're young, you're impressionable, your thoughts change. And very few children, although I've known a couple that, knew what they wanted to do when they were 8 years old and went on to do it. Most of the time we change, but I did know one kid that stuck with it. Unfortunately, he really didn't get his dream because of scholastic issues, but all throughout until he was, last I saw, I was probably 21, 22, and he still had that dream going of, wanting to do what it was he wanted to do when he was in the first grade. So sad he didn't get to do it. But so yeah, there's a lot to finding things that will motivate you, or finding a person, and it doesn't have to. It could be fictitious, like Rocky is, Rocky Balboa or whatever. And just make sure that the goals are relatively attainable. And I would think nowadays reaching your goals should be easier than ever because you have so many resources out there. You can reach out to people or agencies or, just things that are there that weren't there for the previous generations. But so what's up with your training, Nico? With all this moving, have you been able to train at all?
No, very little, because I've been working about 70 hours a week, so I've had very little time for anything.
When does the work slow down for you?
After Thanksgiving. So probably, yeah, Thanksgiving, Christmas time, it'll slow down.
It's coming up, so another couple months. But this is when you can do a lot of downtime. Driving to and from work. Use some mental training. Use visualization. I'm a big supporter and advocate of creative visualization. I've preached this for years to people. Use your mind because everything comes from our mind anyway. And sometimes you can actually get more benefit if your in-person training is thoughtless. If you're just going through it by rote, you're not going to really get as much out of it unless you stop and think and put everything in your mind first to make your body do what your mind wants it to do, as opposed to just randomly doing it. In visualization, I've said this before, you need to visualize things absolutely slowly, slow motion, completely slow motion. And it's hard. It's hard for a person to even keep a single thought in their mind. I've given this experiment to people before. Close your eyes and just think of one thing and nothing else. See how long that lasts. For some people, it's a matter of split seconds or very small seconds, 2-3 seconds, and then other thoughts start coming into their head. So it's hard to focus. And this kind of ties into what we were talking about last week with the power of the mind and the physical strength and how you can do certain things. You really have to focus. And I mentioned how sometimes we'll zone out where you can be in a room and not hear anybody talking to you because your mind is somewhere else. That's how it has to be when you're visualizing. You can't do visualization in a crowded room with the TV on and everybody talking to you or this or that. You've got to isolate, kind of like a meditation, okay? And again, if you're practicing something in your mind, practice it slowly until it becomes quicker, and you gradually increase it until you can, do it full blast. The benefit to this is that you don't have to rely on your physical conditioning, okay? Because many times in a gym, you have to, as a coach, or even for me as an athlete, I was smart enough to realize I got to stop because my form is breaking down because I'm tired, or I'm, whatever. Maybe I'm hurt or whatever it is. My form isn't there. So it's pointless to move forward because all I'm doing is wasting time and energy, and muscle memory is out the window. But you don't have those when you're visualizing. You don't have to rely on your physical. Many times when I was sick or injured or something laid up or didn't have a training partner, I would rely 100% on visualization. Otherwise, what good is it? And then, I could slowly do things. I mean, I could practice certain techniques, shadow boxing, shadow wrestling, whatever you want to call it. I could do that. But even when I was doing that, unless it was a warm up or I'm just using it to get warmed up and get a little heavy breathing going, I was visualizing even while doing that. Okay. So I'm slipping the punch, and I'm countering with the jab, I'm thinking, I'm just not routinely doing it, randomly, I should say. I have thoughts in my mind constantly. So, it's just the way it is. It's all about focus, and when you're in that gym, and it's hard, I get it. If you got problems at home or your problems with your job, sometimes hard to leave that at the door, and conversely, sometimes, in a relationship, it's hard to leave your training or your job at the door. You come home, you bring it all in, and your significant other doesn't want to hear it. It's like, hey, let's have our time. So it's tough. It's tough to have that switch to turn things on and off. At least that's, it has been a challenge sometimes for me, but I'm more of a loner type anyway. So I have more time to, I've always been kind of scheduled, so I know I can bring things home because I'm the only one at home normally. So, but yeah, you got to focus, man. It's all about focus.
One of the things we want to talk about, and I want to talk about it today, was kind of verbal tactics. So, in a confrontation, are there things you recommend to do or not to do? So I remember one of your stories of Johnny Lira. I guess he was getting harassed by somebody, and eventually he realized it was going to have to, become physical. And so he started, like before and during the confrontation, yelling, I'm in fear for my life, just so any witnesses, would, you'd kind of have a little bit of an alibi, because obviously he's a skilled professional fighter, so it could look bad for him hurting somebody. But if he, it's on the record that he's, actually, even though he probably wasn't afraid, he made sure that everybody around knew, you know, do you have any approaches like that you prefer or you recommend?
Well, that's a big thing now because the police use that a lot, you know, that they were in fear and that's why they pulled their weapons. So it's, yeah, it's a valuable thing. Well, again, this is, okay, I've discussed this again too, you know, ad nauseum through the years. When you go to a psychiatrist or a counselor or a psychologist, whatever, you don't walk in there and get cured in one session. You don't walk in there and maybe even get a good diagnosis in one session. And you may be technically rational and it, you know, takes some time to comprehend this. And if you're going up in the street against someone who is completely irrational, you can't make a consensus of what this person's problem is and this and that. I mean, yes, you can use cognitive dissonance, or you can become aggressive verbally or whatever it is, or you can become, I don't want to say submissive, but more, you know, appropriating verbally. But it's impossible to, you know, rely on a psychological trick to save the day. Psychology, verbal things to me are like ripping. They're used for a momentary distraction to set up another move. And now I don't necessarily say that that move has to be physical, but it could lean to escape, or it could lean towards, you know, diffusing the situation. Ultimately in the street, if you don't have, I mean, the perfect world for you is if you never had a street fight. Okay. That's the goal here. It's not to win every street fight you have. It's to have none. Okay. Ultimately, but as we know, that's not always capable of happening. So now you can use your verbal skills as long as you're not banking on people coming to your aid because of your verbal skills, because sometimes nobody's going to help you. And secondly, sometimes you don't want them to help. They could make matters worse. Okay. They could get in your way. They could inadvertently hurt you, or they could escalate a situation, you know, that may have been not as drastic at first. Okay. So your verbal stuff is kind of like ripping, where I've said it before, sometimes with ripping, you know, if a guy's laying there doing nothing and you start ripping on him, he's going to get all this energy. He's going to, you know, because he's reacting. And then conversely, if he's grabbing you and he's using all of this force and you rip him properly, he may let go. So, you know, it could be a positive, it could be a negative. And that's the same thing with your verbal thing. You can make matters worse, or you can diffuse things. But be that as it may, in my opinion, you still have to have the goods to go. Okay. I mean, you still have to know how to fight, or at least know how to escape. So there's no one bag, you know, one thing fits all. Okay. One size fits all. And this just comes through studying psychology, studying humans. And, you know, I would not recommend relying 100% on body mechanics or body language, I should say, because, you know, that's not always, that's still, I'm not saying it's a pseudoscience, but certain people have certain tics or certain mannerisms that can easily be misinterpreted. You know, crossing your arms over your chest, you know, is a sign it's a sign of aggression, or hands on the hips, where there's just some people who are like that. That's just the way they are, even when they're alone. Okay. They just feel comfortable doing that. So, but in the case of what Johnny Lira was saying, yeah, this guy was following him and Johnny could have fluffed them off. It was easy. But yeah, he said it just to protect himself, you know, legally, you know, because sometimes, you know, there's just people who are looking for trouble. They, you know, they may not even be a threat per se to like beat you up or kill you. They may be self-destructive, you know, physically or emotionally. You know, they may be, you know, reaching out. And you just happen to be the chump that's there. You could be the biggest guy, they can pick on you. You could be the smallest guy. It doesn't matter. You could be the redhead. The guy don't like redheads because his ex-wife left him for a redheaded guy. Who knows? You don't know, right? But we've all seen it. I mean, I've been a victim of it. I've had guys, mouth off that didn't know me just because they wanted to try to prove something, not even knowing who I was, just because I was maybe bigger than them or more popular than them in the place. So, yeah, I've used verbal skills and I've used the gamut of it, from being very verbally aggressive and letting him know full well what is going to happen to him. And it's going to be something that, in his wildest nightmare, he never could envision. And then other times I just blew it off. Come on, guy, just relax, here, let me buy you a hot dog, whatever. So you just got to kind of sense the mood. But in Johnny's case, in that instance, this guy kept following him. I mean, Johnny left, went to another place, and the guy showed up. I mean, now, it's on. You're being stalked here. So I remember making a tape for someone once. It was long before DVDs that he wanted, and he got all offended. It was a street scenario thing. And he got all offended because of the language. And I'm like, I said, that's the point. If you watching a video of me screaming and cursing and saying all these names offends you and you're in the safety of your room watching this, you're not prepared for a street fight because anything can go in a street fight. So I think that is something that people have to become accustomed to. Somebody getting in your face, screaming at you, spitting on you, basically. And, all sorts of profanity, all sorts of threats, not just towards you, but towards, your family members or whoever they decide to threaten you with. This is all to get a rise out of you and to try to get you emotional. And even if you flare up and start screaming at them, as long as in the back of your mind, you know that you're doing that screaming as an act, that you're not technically losing control. You just want this guy to think you're losing control because now that may be your trigger, your thing to trigger him, to scare him. You may be all right, but it's when you actually do lose your cool, and it's happened to everybody. But when you do lose focus and you lose control of yourself, you can't control him. You can no longer control the situation if you're out of control. So in psychology, specifically REBT which is what I studied. So you have to get distance sometimes. Maybe it's physical distance, like leave the room if possible, or mentally at least distance yourself. And it's a deep subject because if this person knows you personally, that's one thing. If it's just some stranger, his words should not really, affect you unless it's direct threat. If he's threatening to kill you, that's all you need to hear to act. Okay. Now you can act physically. You can do, he's elevated it now to the point where you're, there's deadly force here being, threatened here. And you can act, with more aggression. But really, it always revolves back to you. Are you going to let this person or people control you, or are you going to control yourself? I've done a lot of things in my life as far as reacting to situations, and not everyone had to end up physical. Most of them, thankfully, I was able to diffuse it in one way or the other. But when you start letting your own personal ego, when you look at it as a challenge now, I think that's the wrong approach, because my challenge shouldn't be defeating him. My challenge should be defeating the situation. Forget about him. It's now in my power. If I control myself, perhaps I can defeat this situation. I can give you specific examples if that's what you're asking.
I think that would be interesting. Yeah, if stuff comes up. I mean, kind of on another point before I forget it, though, it kind of reminds me of, we talked about pain conditioning in training, and also just like training in your street clothes, training in whatever, it seems like maybe we've talked about this before, but bringing the verbal element into your training too. So, you know, saying, okay, today you play the role of the asshole. You know, maybe you have a script that the coach tells you ahead of time. This is what I want you to say and do. And, you know, kind of go through that, because I do feel there's like, just like you condition your body for trauma, in some ways, psychologically, you know, we live, at least most of us are lucky enough to live in an environment where we're not verbally accosted very often. And it can be shocking. You know, if a stranger comes up to you and gets in your face or starts, you know, yelling all kinds of crazy shit at you, it can be shocking and throw you off your game. You know, if you're not conditioned to, you know, I think of like what a drill instructor does to the, you know, the recruits. I mean, part of it is just a psychological shock of having someone saying everything that's absolutely inappropriate and yelling at your face. You know, and do you think that's valuable in training? I know I'll let you comment on that.
It's valuable, and it's also, done right, the most dangerous form of training there is. And I'll explain. So let's say you're 6'5", 350 pounds, and the coach wants somebody who's, you know, 6 foot to verbally go after the 6'5" giant. And if you start saying stuff like, you know, you short little skinny runt or something, well, the giant guy is going to laugh this off. I mean, there's no role play here because it's ridiculous. Okay. So the whole point in that kind of training is to hit home with, you know, let's call him your training partner. It's to hit home with your training partner, to get that person agitated psychologically. And then after the smoke settles and the training session is over, your training partner is going to be thinking, he must have meant this. Okay. This guy must, you know, everything he said about, he had to be thinking this. Okay. And it can damage your relationship permanently. Okay. I mean, it could just go like it can go far. If you get my point. Okay. There's things that are said that can't be taken back. But yet somebody's got to be that sacrificial lamb. Somebody has got to be the guy that can trigger his training partner or the whole class, whatever, one at a time. You know, otherwise it's an exercise in futility. And this is why I've said before, getting a good training partner is maybe harder than finding a wife or, you know, a perfect mate, because you have a physical and an emotional give or take in your training. Okay. Most of the time, hopefully the only physical interactions you have with your loved one is, you know, of a sexual romantic nature. But in training, you have that heavy duty physical thing where you're boxing, kicking, wrestling, throwing, whatever. And then you add in the psychological aspect of it, that I'm sacrificing my body today for you to make you better. And then tomorrow, let's say you're going to sacrifice it for me. Well, it's the same psychologically. You know, if I want to get to Nico, or if I want to get to you, Joe, I mean, really get to you, I've got to go where, you know, you're most vulnerable. Otherwise it's, you know, it's comical, you know, it's a joke. So can it be done? Absolutely. You know, once you get to know somebody, you know everybody's sore spots, you know what not to say, you know, but how are you going to come out of it looking? How are you as the aggressor going to look to this guy for forever? So you have to kind of find that kind of trust between each other. That, my friends, is very difficult. But again, we're talking about creating the greatest fighting person in the world here. That's my whole goal. And you can't just be tough physically. You have to be tough psychologically. And, you know, you have to break a few eggs to make an omelet here. So I don't know if a lot of people would even be willing to voluntarily get a tongue lashing, right? I can't speak for anybody else. So, but do I think it's beneficial? 100%. I really do. I think it's totally beneficial. And to use your DI example, you know, you're in boot camp for 13 weeks. You know certain things in the back of your head. You see the DI going after everybody. So while it'll blow your mind maybe in the initial stages, you quickly adapt and you still know it's role play. But when you're with this training partner, and now he's embarrassed you probably in front of the whole class, and of course everybody else is getting embarrassed because you're listening to their stories, you know, you're not going to be gone in 13 weeks, hopefully. This is something that you're going to last for years. And now you're kind of laid to bear there. Okay. Your soul has been, bared to the whole class. It can make for an interesting dynamic. So, yeah, it's tough. It is, it's like getting bullied.
Hey, Tony, you used to be a bouncer, right?
Yeah.
So did you have to use a lot of verbal diffusion to de-escalate a lot of situations?
Absolutely. And I will give one of my tricks away here. I used to tell whoever the manager was or the owner, I said, I want $20. Give me a $20 bill. If I don't use it, I'll give it back to you at the end of the night, but I want $20. And when I saw, and I had it on me, okay, this is the key here. When I saw guys getting into it before, I was observant, before punches are thrown, when it's verbal, I'd go up to them and I'd say whatever was appropriate. And I would just talk to them as a friend and say, look, I don't want any trouble. He says, you know what? This is bullshit. Guys, I'm going to pay you out of my own pocket. I'm going to buy you guys a drink. I'm not going to get it out of the till. I'm not going to tell the bartender to buy you a drink. I'm going to buy you a drink. And let's just calm down. Okay, guys? And if you guys want to buy me one, that's great. Let's just calm down. And I'd reach in and get the 20 and I'd tell the bartender to get these guys a drink. So right away now they see that it's me doing it. And wow, this guy paid out of his own pocket. Well, I technically didn't. They didn't know it because, I already had the 20 on me from the owner. But as a bouncer, especially, you never, ever want to put your hands on somebody, man. That's trouble. Boy, that's lawsuits and this and that and, legalities that you don't want. So you really have to learn how to diffuse it. And you try to be neutral. But in certain cases where you cannot be neutral, you don't need to berate the bad guy, let's say, the guy that's in the wrong. Don't berate him and don't talk down to him. Separation is the key. Get these guys apart. And, hopefully there's no get backs. Hopefully the guy, if he leaves, doesn't come back and get you as the bouncer or the other guy when he's leaving. So you really do have to have the psychology behind you. And sadly, a lot of employers, they just want the big guy or whatever. They want the guy that looks the part. And many times that can turn into being an antagonistic thing. Okay. You need somebody who's going to really have his head screwed on right, that can talk down and attempt to de-escalate. Okay. Because the last thing as an owner of a bar, you don't want to have the bartender or whomever always resorting to calling 911. Okay. Because your bar is going to get, a rep. And if there is issues going down, you're going to get a ding on your license and, you're going to lose your license eventually. You just can't have that. So it's not like the movie Roadhouse where, everybody's kicking ass all the time. You don't want that. Ideally, there's no violence in the bar. Now that's like a utopia, but it can happen. Okay. You can make it less, you can make it more tranquil. But it comes from brains more than brawn. And there will be times where, it's too late for that. And depending on the size of the bar, and the crew, they may not be able to witness what's happening until it's too late. Or it could have been a situation that happened before it was even in the bar. Could have happened 3 days ago, and now they caught the guy in the bar, and now the shit's hitting the fan. But no, Nico, you're not Rambo when you're a bouncer, or security guy. Your job is to de-escalate. And I've talked down a lot of guys, and I feel good about it. Doesn't always work, but most of the time, I think it becomes, you know, like a contest. You know, it's like ego driven. Not always. Again, not always, but many times it's an ego thing between the two of them, and they may be talking themselves into something that they don't really want to do. You know, they may not really want to fight each other, but now they've run their mouth so much and they made so many threats that they're almost like forced to do it, and they kind of may welcome someone to come in there of authority or whatever and break it up. So just do it correctly and do not put yourself in harm's way. You know, don't put your hands on anybody. Certainly don't look threatening, but don't get blindsided yourself as the bouncer. You know, and do they have allies? You know, do they have other guys with them that may be momentarily away from this situation? They may be on a dance floor, in a bathroom, at the pool table, wherever. And they see you approaching, and now you're going to get blindsided. So you have to protect yourself. You know, it's not worth dying for, but it's a job. It's not for everybody. It's like a police officer. It's not for everybody. Okay. But yeah, use your verbal skills as much as you can, and you know, I study some psychology. You know, get a book. You don't have to enroll in, you know, a university. Read some books on it. You know, and put it into practice. That's all I can say. Hope that answered your question.
Did you ever see any fights escalate to the point of using weapons in the bar?
Of course, absolutely. You know, that's probably happened in every major city, or not even major city, but just that happens a lot. You know, and it that's to be always in the back of your mind. You got to realize that this can escalate. That's why it's important to try to diffuse it as soon as possible. You know, you don't want it to get to that point, because it doesn't have to be a gun, but it could be a glass, you know, hit a guy in the head with the glass, or a bottle or something, or a chair, or a knife, or a cue stick, or a pool ball, or, you know, whatever. You don't want that. And I can't even tell you how many times I've seen it. And I can't even tell you how many times I've heard from other people, not bouncers, even just people who witnessed this tremendous bar fight, you know, and it's just not good. You know, I don't know if my one friend who may watch these, you know, I don't want to even say his name because I don't want to put him on the spot, but, you know, he ended up doing time for a bar situation when he was younger, you know, and he talks about it openly. You know, it's not worth it. It's just, come on. So yeah, you don't want that. I used to tell people back when, you know, AIDS was big, you know, in the beginning, you know, when it was bad with the blood, you want to avoid blood. Well, now, especially we got this COVID, and you know, you don't want to even bodily fluids of any sort. You know, you know, you want to try to avoid that. So you want everybody calm, so they're not spitting and, you know, just, you know, spraying the room with stuff. But imagine in a melee. Oh my goodness! And innocent people are always at risk. And again, coming from bar owner standpoint, you definitely don't want that. You do not want people worrying about coming to your bar because it's or restaurant, you know, that, you know, or game room, you know, wherever, you know, you just don't need that kind of problem. So, and you don't want it to be militaristic either. You don't want to have, you know, a room that holds 20 people or 25 people and have 4 bouncers. I mean, you know, that's ridiculous too. But, you know, it all comes back, Nico, to training. And, you know, when weapons are involved, you know, it's a whole different thing. I mean, now Johnny Law has to get involved in this because now actual crimes are being committed here. And, you know, you need to properly, you know, identify. I mean, now it's kind of easier because most places have cameras, so it'll all be, you know, on camera. But You know, if it's a hit and run kind of situation where the guy pulls out a weapon, does what he has to do, and then bails, you know, you being the astute bouncer has to at least get outside and don't engage him, but get his license plate, or, you know, see what vehicle he's in or how he left, which direction he was heading. You know, these are all vitally important. So there's more to it than just, again, being, you know, the big jocker in the place, you know. And as a bouncer, your ego again has to take a back seat. You know, if the incident erupted into physical violence, you know, don't worry about your ego right now. Worry about the establishment, the customers, the patrons, and you go from there. Don't make this about you unless it is about you directly, unless you are physically the one who's assaulted. It's never about you, you know, and you got to keep it like that, you know. Yeah, those are bad times, man. Bad times.
So what are you supposed to do if you're bouncing and let's say like a crowd of guys just erupt in chaos, hitting each other with weapons, pool sticks, whatever? I mean, obviously you call 911, but it seems like if you even step into that situation, it's just going to escalate even further. I mean, what can you do?
You protect the innocent people. You protect the patrons that aren't involved in this melee. Okay, first and foremost. Okay, that's like a wildfire. The group of guys, it's a wildfire. You get in the middle of that. If you're, especially if you're the only bouncer there, you get in the middle of that, and something happens to you. Then what? Then there's no security left. Okay, so you need to make sure that the patrons and the other employees, if it's a bartender or cook, or, you know, bartender and cook, whatever, and the other patrons are safe. And that may mean escorting them out. That may mean telling everybody, grab your money, grab your purse, whatever. Let's get outside. You know, the hell with the drinks. They can leave their drinks. You can always, as part of an owner of a bar, you know, I don't want to say you assume responsibility, but, you know, you can always replace their drink on the house. Okay. But that's what you need to do. And that doesn't mean that you vacate the place, the premises. You can't leave it unguarded. You got to go down with the ship to a degree. But you need to make sure that people are safe. It's the safety of the employees and the customers that come first. Okay. And to even get more direct, that melee that you're talking about would be like a whole house erupting, and you're a fireman, and all you have is a little home fire extinguisher. You know you're outmanned, you're outgunned. You go in there with that little home extinguisher, you're going to die. Well, same thing here. You know, you're probably not going to have a chance. So get them out, and then talk or do whatever. You know, whatever the case may be. If you see somebody down, you know, if you think you can get them help physical, you know, get them out of there and escort them out. It's just a nightmare. Okay. But you cannot lose focus of what you are as far as that goes. You're not necessarily, I don't want to say you're a public servant in the same way as a police officer, but, you know, you're there to ensure that, you know, the customers are enjoying themselves in a safe environment. So no matter what, if the place started on fire, you'd get everybody out. Okay. So you got to use a little common sense, get them out, make sure the customers are safe. That's how I would handle that, and not try to be a hero. Hello.
What's fascinating is, I mean, when you think about how complex that is and the kind of decisions that have to be made, I mean, is there official, you don't ever get certified as a bouncer, right? I mean, there is no, because it seems like drilling those kind of scenarios, because I don't know if people, you know, in the moment, especially someone who's maybe, you know, new to the job, would necessarily think through those things. You know, I guess there's got to be professional bouncer training for people for like to go through scenarios.
There is, like in my Tri-C program, if the person wants to study this stuff, I will teach them that. No, there's no to my knowledge, there's no certification. There may be some sort, like you have what's called Bassett here in Illinois. I don't know. I can't talk about other states, but you're licensed to be a bartender or serve alcohol, but that's like a $10 or $15 course that you just take on the internet. You do it in one day. You can't. So I mean, I don't know. I don't believe there is. I know plenty of guys. I never got certified as a bouncer, so to speak, but it's still training. I could talk to you about this like I have just now, and maybe that'll turn a light bulb on for some people, but you can't, you still got to train it. You got to study it, man. You have to master it on the inside. You have to think and make these split-second decisions. And some people just can't do it. Not an insult to them. They're just not equipped for it. Or they're full of aggression and rage themselves, which is what you have to watch out for many times when you're looking for a bouncer. You need somebody who's trustworthy, who's on the same side as the owner of the bar, and who's not there to, get high or, pick up chicks or, whatever. And sometimes it's the owner needs to, pay the bouncer appropriately, a good one, pay the guy appropriately, make sure he's not drinking on the job, make sure he's not, whatever. If he is, he's going to have one drink, to calm things down. So his judgment is still clear. But yeah, there is a lot to this, guys. If you want to do this right, otherwise, if you just want to hire a human robot or a statue, some big muscular, bodybuilder type, and you think that's going to be a deterrent, yeah, maybe it will, but I would think again about that because, there's just the last thing you want is for the bouncer to, or the bartender or anybody to have to get physical. That you just don't want that. And you also have to give that bartender the authority. A lot of bar owners, some of them are, douches. They don't want to give the bartender the authority to throw somebody out. Okay. You have to let that bartender be the quote unquote owner of the bar at that point in time, and the bartenders are the first line for serving alcohol. They have to know when not to overserve this guy, and that becomes a lot of this goes back to the bartender. They have to be alert. They have to be sociable. They need to interact with every customer at the bar that they can. At the bar now, I'm talking about. Not obviously if it's a big place and there's people in the back, you can't walk all over the place. But you've got to start talking to these people, listen to the customers, get an idea of, is their voice slurring? Are their speech slurring? Are they talking in an aggressive manner? So there's a lot of observance that has to go on. And as a patron, you have to realize this. You should know you're getting filmed. So you should understand that, hey, the bartender here or the bouncer or both are monitoring me as well, just to make sure, that I'm not getting out of line. Believe me, if you don't want any trouble and all of a sudden somebody's causing trouble, you may hope that the bartender or the bouncer steps in and ends it. So the bartender and bouncer and the patrons have to have a relationship where everybody is on each other's side. They're all there together. But I have seen many times problems happen because a bartender overserved a person, just too much. And it could be that, the owner's hurting financially and kind of wants that. But believe me, in this day and age with DUIs and everything else, it will come back to bite the owner or the bartender or both, in the ass. So there's a lot more to this, guys, than just what it would look like on the surface. It's quite deep. And it's still something that I tell people, especially like when I moved out here, and not necessarily about violence, but just about how to run a bar, and how many of the bar owners in this area and restaurant owners really are not running it the right way. They could have some improvement. because I have a lot of experience, all these years, and people that I know in Chicago and even Cleveland, bigger cities. And, unfortunately, a lot of them just don't want to hear it. They think, they got a handle on things when really they don't. So it's ironic because when you go into let's call it a bar, normally the first person you really see or interact, generally speaking, is the bartender. And the bartender can set the tone for everything. The owner may not even be there, or he may be in the back room, or there may not be a bouncer. So now your bartender or bartenders, depending on the size of the place or the quantity of people in there, really set the tone for this place. How are they dressed? How do they come on to you? Not come on, romantically, but how do they interact with you? Are they quality people, or are they up to something? So a bouncer needs to know this as well. A bouncer needs to know, is that bartender really my ally, or is that bartender working against me here? Okay. So yeah, this is I wasn't expecting to talk about this, but I'm kind of glad we are, because this is a subject that I'm not sure is really broached too much, because I don't, hang out on the internet, looking for bar stuff or, bouncing stuff, but there is a lot to it. And, yeah, I'm all about trying to find good bartenders and waitresses, people who are going to make it better for you to be there, as opposed to, causing any kind of grief. And that I don't go out anymore or anywhere where there's bouncers, but back in the day I did. And I knew some good ones, but I also knew some bad ones, that were going to make things worse. So there's no blanket statement. But in this day and age now, with COVID and whatever, just even before COVID, the going out stuff, at least in the types of places that I go at, I don't go to nightclubs. It was less and less people. And the people that were going out, they drank less because, DUI laws and everything, which is appropriate, but that does not mean there's still not trouble. All it takes is one guy who may have had a bad day, or who had too much. Hell, the last time somebody got cocky with me, it was a guy, but he was in the wrong and he tried to apologize, but then his wife started up because they were drunk, they were smashed, and which I found this kind of comical. And then the guy was really afraid, but yeah, so you just don't know. It could come out of left field. You just got to be prepared. I was just a customer. I wasn't working there. This was not too long ago, maybe a year or so ago, a couple of years ago.
So as a bouncer, did you typically have to step in when somebody had enough to drink and help out the bartender and say, listen, you've had enough to drink? And did you have to escort them out, or were most of the guys very compliant?
Okay, so that's on the bartender to, first of all, make the call that you've had too much. And then and the bartender should just say, hey, I can't serve you anymore. Would you like a glass of water? Would you like a 7-Up? Would you like a Coke, cup of coffee, whatever? Only, and then if he or she is not complying with that, or if the bartender asks them to leave and they refuse, then it's up to the bouncer. Then it was up to me to step in. Okay. Otherwise, I have no right to go in there without a signal from the bartender. That's the bartender's territory. And yes, overwhelmingly, they were cooperative. Not 100%. And yeah, there were times where I had to escort people physically, my hands on them physically out the door. Okay. But even most of the time doing that, nobody got hurt. They understood. But yeah, my verbal skills, and maybe it was my presence of how I approached it, was normally enough. But each and every time I did it, I was cognizant of my vulnerabilities, and I never let the guy get the drop on me. Okay. They can mouth off, but you got to let them know that they're just digging a deeper hole for themselves without saying it, to provoke them to challenge you to a fight. Because again, it's not about you as the bouncer. You are there to protect the business and the employees and clientele that are in there. And that's just the way it is. So, but yeah, I don't like bouncers who butt in when they're really not asked. The bartender normally is the one who should make that call on cutting somebody off, and then you go. Then you're called in afterwards.
When you actually do have to physically get involved, I'm thinking about like cops with the chokeholds and things like that, and how that's become a thing. Are there holds? I guess it's two-part question. Holds that are your go-to holds for bouncing, and then ones that you say, these are off the table. I can't use these unless a real threat has been made to me, that kind of thing.
Well, sure. And generally you want to tie up their arms and, maybe a half Nelson with a, hammerlock or, chicken wing, get the guy up off the ground if you can, carry him out. But, you want to kind of get their arms. It's important to realize if you're dealing with somebody who's intoxicated, you don't need them to fall. All right. You do not need that to happen. Because the fact that they're intoxicated can come back and bite the establishment in the butt. Okay. And once you physically engage, you are putting yourself in a state of liability. Okay. If this person gets injured or something like that, it can come back on you using excessive force and so on. So you have to be very careful. And to make a blanket statement, what move would I use? It all depends on where this guy is at. If he's making threats or if he's just, being, belligerent, I'm not going to leave. Nobody can make me, I run this town, that kind of shit, that's not threatening. Okay. That's just being belligerent. And therefore sometimes reaching out to grab the guy can just take it to the next level. And you cannot, this is bouncer or just customer, you cannot count on the clientele to be on your side. I've said this before in a street fight scenario or a bar fight scenario. You have to assume everybody's against you. So you would hope that the customers there would be on your side and say, hey, everything went down. The bouncer, Tony, was above board. But you don't know that, okay? So you have to make sure that anything you do is you have to underreact as opposed to overreact, but then you have to be in a physical position to escalate it instantaneously to save yourself or save someone if the scenario became that. This is not word salad. This is hard for me to explain because so many things can happen. But that's why I say it's important to if you are going to make that decision to tie them up or put your hands on them or something like that, you want to get their arms because their mouth what's their mouth going to do? They can MF everybody in there and all this. That's just words at that point in time. But you need to make sure that their arms or hands aren't reaching for a weapon that they may have or an improvised weapon, picking up a beer bottle, cue stick, whatever, whatever's there. So that's really important. Okay. And again, that's all situational and the, let's call them the drunk, although he may not technically even be drunk. They're going to determine that there should be ground rules of when it's okay to be physical. You really, really need to leave that basically till the very end. Talk your way, show the guy, move him this way, tell everybody else to stay the hell out, because again, customers can sometimes mean well, but just they can antagonize and make things worse. So you have to show professionalism. You have to let everybody in that place know, hey, the bouncer's got it. He's okay. And you need hand signals, or not the, how should I say? You need signals between you and a member of authority in the bar, such as a bartender or manager or whatever. Be it a wink, be it the way you touch your face or something, touch your elbow, to let them know you need to call 911. Okay, because this is going to get bad. And the good thing is, even if you get the guy out of the bar and the police do show up, fine. Okay, there's not going to be a ding on the bar. You were managed. You were able to manage to handle this. But the last thing you need is for this guy to start pulling out a gun and shooting up, and it's too late to call 911, right? So sometimes, I'm not saying to jump the gun. This is, again, where you have to have a bouncer that knows what the hell he or she's doing. They have to be cognizant of the psychology of a person and where they feel that this may go. And as I said, make the signal, okay, and that means the bartender or whoever else is there, now we'll call 911. So there's a lot to this, guys. I mean, this isn't the movies. I'm sorry, it just isn't, the movies. And you don't want it to become like the movies. And it has become like the movies sometimes. But, you try to prevent that. So there's a lot to this. And, I'm not going to put myself, $75 a night for this shit. No, that's just, you just got to hold, it's just not worth it to put yourself at risk, for peanuts, or you have to worry about the get back if it does happen. But I've been the unofficial bouncer in pretty much every place I go where they don't have a bouncer, right? But they know if I'm there, I'm going to keep things calm. And I've had some of my students witness it. I've managed to derail everything. Okay. And again, it's because of my skills of my verbal, my way of presenting myself, let's say, verbally and physically, without having to be the tough guy. Now, it doesn't mean that I haven't had to hit or do things. Yes. But, sometimes things get to the point where, it's escalated. But it's never been on me that escalated it. It's them. What else do you need to know? The Cleveland Browns are playing today. They're playing against the Indianapolis Colts, which is going to be, I think, 325 games. So I'm looking forward to that. Just change the subject briefly.
Yeah, I think that seems to be like the most important quality from what I'm hearing from you in a bouncer is to be able to detach yourself from that situation, not get your ego involved, and know how to really deal with people and de-escalate.
And bartenders. There are more bartenders in this country or world than there are bouncers. Yes, detach yourself.
So that seems like a very unique individual, someone that actually knows how to handle themselves physically, knows how to fight, but really doesn't get their ego involved, can detach themselves from the situation, and knows how to verbally de-escalate situations more so than,
Yes, and police
physically.
officers too. This isn't just about anybody who interacts, with the public. Police officers, bouncers, cashiers at a restaurant or whatever, cashiers at a Hobby Lobby or whatever. If you get somebody who goes off, yes, it again, not everybody is cut to do it, and some people are going to be better at it than others, just like some are going to be physically stronger or tougher than others. But when you're in a position, in a job such as police or a bouncer or something, security, where, bodyguarding and everything, where you are that, well, there's an elevated risk of me getting into some sort of altercation. You really need to work on your skills. Your presentation skills, because it's not always just verbal. It's your physical presence. And, I don't know. I can't say that it's not being taught. I wouldn't believe it is. Or if it is, it's just cursory. It's just nothing. It's something that has to be practiced deeply. Okay. and constantly, just like you would lift weights. You quit lifting weights, your strength may go down, your body shape may change. Well, your mind is the same way. Okay, if you don't use it, you're going to lose it. So, again, I've known some people that they can let things roll off them, like nothing, like water off a duck. But that may not always be the right way as well. You can't just be a chump and show complete weakness. It's about showing control, and not just control of the person, but the most important thing is control of yourself. If you start raising your voice, screaming at him, blah, 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 he's won. He's probably got what he wanted. He got a rise out of you. Okay. Or if you're the bartender, and he starts name calling you and you lash back. It's a psychological game here. Okay. It really is. Again, let's label the person the drunk, I don't mean to do that, because there's plenty of people, the vast majority of people who are technically drunk are not troublemakers. But for the sake of this, the drunk, may not even really want that, going into it. But, this guy may be projecting, or she may be projecting their own issues. So again, yeah, detach, and sadly, I bartenders can get a lot of grief, okay, because they are the front line once again with the customer. And, it's a tough decision for a bartender to tell somebody you can't have anymore. Okay. And that right there can be enough to flare somebody up. So you have to approach when it's getting to that point, where you think you're going to have to cut this person off. You need to learn how to do it in a non-antagonistic way. I can't give out examples because I don't know who's going to be watching this, and I don't want to be speaking on behalf of other bar owners who may say, "Oh my God, he just gave away the the keys to the city here." But in my opinion, I'm going to do it anyway. In my opinion, it's always letting them know, hey, come back another day and you're going to have fun. We can start this all over again. And one of the best ways is to give them a drink chip. Give them a free drink, but not for tonight. If your bar has chips, give it to them. Say, you leave tonight. Go ahead, man. Go home. Whatever. However you want to talk to them. Here's a drink coming for you the next time you're here. Okay. You show them something. And whatever it is that they're drinking, depending on the bar, it shouldn't be that expensive. No matter what the customer's cost is, it's not about how much you charge for the drink. It's how much the drink costs you as the owner. So let's say you're giving away $2 or $3 your cost. That may be a hell of a lot more beneficial than trouble. Okay. If you can buy yourself out of it as a bar owner or whatever, restaurant owner, is $2 or $3, boy, that's the way. So, and two, you don't want everybody to be an automaton. You need to have bartenders that can handle things in their own way, because again, they have to have some power behind there. But I think if you would just, as an owner, let them know, hey, you have the power to buy people drinks or to cut them off, but let's make sure we do everything, appropriately. And I tell a lot of owners of bars and restaurants this: I'm a business owner. I've been a business owner for 25 years or more, whatever. I know what I'm capable of doing to help a customer. I can give them a free product, or I could, if they come for an hour lesson, I can train them for an hour and a half, the extra half hour's on me, or an hour and 15 minutes, whatever I want to do. I have leeway, and they do as well. So ultimately, it's entertainment here, guys. When you go to a restaurant, when you go out to eat, wherever you go, it's like that. It's entertainment. You want everybody to be entertained. And not just the person that you're directly with, but everybody in the room. So I believe that there should be seriously training the staff, let's put it that way, on how to deal with this. Unfortunately, I've known a lot of staff members who've, you know, really have a lot of nice things to say about the owners. The owners themselves probably need this training, right? They're, I don't want to get into it other than that. People who are out there know what I'm talking about, especially you female bartenders that are watching. You know how sometimes your boss can be a sleaze. So, you know, that's on you to either stay there or quit. I can't help you there. But yeah, you just need, they need to have awareness that, you know, it shouldn't be about you. Don't make it about you. And if it's become about you, then control you. Okay. Let's just, you know, don't let this thing escalate anymore. So that's it. Let's talk about something else. Let's talk about something good. Joe's hair. Your hair looks much better this week.
Well, they do this thing where you can wash it now, I found out.
Oh.
So I'm going to start looking into that a little bit more.
Well, make sure you tip your barber or your hairstylist well. I mean, it'll help.
We'll see. We'll see how this goes. I'm kind of actually in tribute. This is kind of I'm going to use this as a segue. I think I'm going to go for like an 80s hair metal kind of a thing. Ultimately, we'll see if I can keep with it. But my point being that the segue is, you know, we've lost, you and I are a little bit older. So more and more icons of like our generation are passing away. It seems like every week we can mention someone. You know, a couple of weeks ago was Gail Sayers. You know, we lost Diana Rigg, and
Evie.
I know this may not mean anything to you, but this week we lost Eddie Van Halen. So I don't even know if Nico cares about Eddie Van Halen. He's younger than us, so I don't know what music he listens to. But
we lost Johnny Nash. I can see clearly now. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was shocked when I saw that Eddie Van Halen died. Well, you know, I appreciate, you know, I'm a jazz guy, but of course I appreciate it. I mean, you can't be a musician without respecting him and just forget about, I mean, he's 65 years old. You know, that is sad, you know, and he, you know, contributed, and Van Halen in general contributed a lot to the 80s. It's like another part of our childhood or whatever that's gone. You know, and shit, I'm 56. I'm too young to have everything die on me, but it just, you know, this is part of it. I mean, I remember vividly where I was and who I was with when Michael Jackson died. It can't, you know, I happened to be sitting at a table at a Polish buffet, Jolly Inn on the north side of Chicago. And it came up on the TV, and, you know, my girlfriend was in the line at that point getting more food. And when she came back, I'm like, you're not going to believe this. You know, Michael Jackson just died. Wow. And I was on the phone with Scott, my friend, when the news came over to TV that Kobe Bryant died. You know, yeah. As a matter of fact, I was with Scott and his girlfriend when, you know, I saw that Eddie Van Halen died. You know, yeah, it's a shock.
Yeah, I was lucky. I got to see him 2 or 3 years ago. I got to see the band. They had it back with David Lee Roth. They were just doing a world tour, and you know, he put on quite a show. I mean, they are showmen, and when he did his solo, it was very interesting. Just, you know, I know it's mostly effects, but all these kind of crazy, weird, ethereal sounds, and I was like, wow, you know, he was actually someone I'd want to go back and see live again. I mean, that was definitely on my radar to do, and I actually wanted my son Ben to come along because, you know, he's a rock fan too. And, you know, nope, no such luck. You know, it's just, I was lucky to get to see him when I did. You know, it's kind of been a sober reminder to kind of like, you know, try and see things and do things while you can, because there's no guarantee. You know, he didn't look sick when I saw him a few years ago. You know, he played a full, you know, 90-minute show, no problem. You know, it just goes to show you, man, it can turn quickly on a dime. And, it's you know, it's a really kind of, you know, a deep philosophical reminder to like savor the time you have right while you have it, you know.
Yeah, it's happened to me on several occasions. Missed opportunity for Sinatra, missed opportunity for a guy named Pete Jolly. My mom actually got to meet him and her girlfriend. I was actually playing a job out of town, so I couldn't meet the guy. And Sergio Franchi, you know, I was there at the fairgrounds, you know, Milwaukee, the Festa Italiana, and I chose to see Dick Contino as opposed to Sergio. When Sergio died that months later. Okay. It was, I figured I'd catch him next year, you know, and he was young. He was in the early 60s or something, 61 maybe. I don't recall now. And thankfully, I was able to see Buddy Rich. I got to see him about 5 times, the drummer. One time was canceled because Count Basie died. So I believe it was Basie's death or Harry James. I believe it was Count Basie's death. And yeah, so yeah, you got to take advantage of this stuff while you can. And you know, I could have seen Tony Bennett. Now, I don't want to give him the kiss of death. He's still around. Okay. So I probably should see him. I also missed an opportunity to see Earth, Wind, and Fire, which is my favorite group of that era. Well, I shouldn't say well, probably they are, but one of them, you know, because I like so many Steely Dan, you know, Toto, all of that. I liked a lot of different varieties of music. But yeah, I mean, you know me, more people have died in my circle than anyone I know. And we're approaching 60 now, close to 60 people that I know have passed away just in the last, since December 9th, 2012. And we're not even talking about people before then. Johnny Lira started this, you know, he was the one that, you know, all of a sudden started all this death thing with me, even though I have lost people naturally before then. So I'm numb to it. You know, I mean, and that's not good for me psychologically to become numb. But, you know, my life has just been one stressful, negative thing after the next. Boom, 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 boom. You just, you know, you literally, it reminds me of that one time when I was getting wailed on by guys with the ball bats. I felt nothing until later, but I felt nothing. I went numb, physically numb. I didn't feel anything. And that's how it becomes emotionally when it's just, you just get beat up and the sense of loss becomes so overwhelming over and over and over and over and over, you know, and I'm bracing it for my mom. You know, I mean, I just lost Cheetos, my dog. I lost my buddy, you know, throughout this, Bob O'Brien, a little bit over a year ago now, you know, and Big Lou and others. It's just on and on. One after the other comes in bunches, you know. I hate to even name names because then you leave out Tan Paul. I mean, there's so many. I could go on. I got almost 60 of them, you know. But yeah, Eddie Van Halen was a shock because I did not know. I don't follow him like that. I did not know he had cancer. I just was, and I'm out of the loop on all of it. So it really came as a shock to me, you know. The Kobe thing, of course, came as a shock to everybody because he wasn't sick. You know, it was just a tragic accident. But yeah, you're right. I mean, cherish the time we have. That's why I appreciate you guys. Saddens me that Nico's going to move even further away, but hopefully we can see each other shortly. If not, we got to wait till spring and make sure it happens. This is nice. Or even during the week, if we were training, we could do a virtual thing if we were back at that. But there's nothing like being in someone's presence, you know. To me, that's what it's all about. Unity, you know, being with people that, you know, means something to you. And that's another thing too. I don't want to bring up any names, but you know, like I'll just use it generally. I'll speak because I'm the single one out of the group here. You could use women who'll say, I want a guy that does this, 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 and this. And I've had this discussion with women. I'm like, you know, I have a lot of friends and I don't go to each friend for something in particular, or I go to each friend maybe for something in particular. Like, you know, they'll say, well, I want a guy who'll go kayaking and, water skiing and, you know, snow skiing and whatever it is. You know, I don't even have guy friends that I have everything in common with. Okay. You know, when I was talking about cars, it was either Kevin or my friend Dave, you know. If it's shooting pool, it was, you know, let's say Scott. If it was just joking around and having just yucks, it's my friend Vince. You know, I don't have a one size fits all friend. And, you know, my point here is I don't try to judge everybody. Like I like Joe more than I like Nico or this or that. I care about everybody equally, or at least I attempt to. And I draw from each one of you as an individual. I'm not looking for a guy friend, for example, or a lady friend. It's going to, you know, cover all my bases. No. And, you know, I find that, you know, kind of difficult even, you know, I cannot be the jack of all trades for someone. and my friends come to me for specifics. They don't, there's times when I don't want to talk to Tony today. I'd rather go with, Joe Blow, I get that. That's how it is. But to get to the point, yeah, it's good to let everyone know now and then just how much they mean to you, and if you're not the verbal type of guy, you can't get it out. Well, there's other ways of doing it. And sometimes it's just a matter of a simple hello, hey, I was thinking about you, for no other reason, than that. And now it's easier for me because I have so few friends left because I've lost so many to death that I do take the time to tell everybody how much they mean to me verbally because, I don't have the 100 people left in my life. Okay. It's down to 10 or whatever, if that. So, but you two guys, have families and, you look at life obviously a little different. And, I'm the wildcat, I'm the single guy that's, man about town, but, and that can be threatening to wives or girlfriends. Like, what kind of trouble's Tony going to get you in? But, I admire both of you guys going through your marriages and, raising the families and, the stability, that's admirable. Believe me. But, it doesn't always happen for everyone. But is there anyone else in the music or entertainment world that we know of that means something to you that maybe that's in ill health? That, outside of, like I said, Tony Bennett, who may not be in ill health, but he's in his 90s. That's the only one I could think of right now. I'm sure there's more, but anyone for you two that you're a fan of and think maybe you should step on it?
No one that I could think of. I'm not really a big concert person, and I don't follow musicians super closely, but I like to listen to all different types of music. So there's no one that I can really think of. Tony Bennett is definitely one of the greats, though.
Yeah, he'd be cool.
Oh, well, I met this young kid the other day, young, 30. And he's a guitarist and so on. And we just got to talking and blah, 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 blah about guitar, this, everything. Van Halen was actually the one who prompted the conversation. And I played for him a clip of Glenn Campbell, who was one of the greatest guitarists that ever lived, playing Indiana, back home again in Indiana, live and at, breakneck speed. This he couldn't believe it. He's like, oh my God. He started forwarding it to all of his musician friends, just what kind of chops Glenn Campbell had. So when Glenn died, that hit me pretty hard. The thing that Buddy Rich dying was the hardest I've ever been hit, without question, musically. Outside of like my music teacher, somebody that I actually knew. I'm talking about somebody I didn't know. But yeah, now my favorite guitarist, I hate to single out one guy because I like so many, but George Benson, who's just a monster player. But, there were so many in the past that are gone, that I got to meet or played with or listened live or just listened to. But as we mentioned on several previous podcasts, music has kind of lost its allure with me. And it's not because of the music. It's because of me, something in me. I've walked away. Music didn't leave me. Music is still there. I took a step back, but I need to hopefully get back into that. But anyway, it's looking like that clock on the wall is saying that we have, went through another hour and a half of wasted breath. But yeah, thank you guys for being here.
It was a really, really good conversation. It took a different direction, but I thought we got some really good information out there. So I was really, really happy that we had this talk.
We don't guys out there in the audience, we don't normally plan this, or maybe Joe will say, hey, send an email. Hey, do you want to talk about, one thing. We don't really plan this out. I'm like when I did all my videos, I'll say I want to do a video unless it's specific, like the wrist lock seminar or something. I don't plan it. I just do it. I don't have a script. I'm an improvisation ad lib kind of guy. on everything. When I did the Snap No Tap, we went into this room and they had things on the wall, notes and things from previous, they call them authors, previous guys who have done videos. I had none of that. I'm like, let's go. There's no notes. We're going to wing it. That's just how a jazz guy operates. You might have a little outline, but it's all about your creativity. So that's how I operate the best. And especially when I don't have the world's greatest memory any longer. So if I were to memorize something, it would be kind of difficult for me. I would be bumbling and whatever. I'd rather just wing it. But I couldn't do this without Joe and Nico. There are two great guys, and they deserve the credit because they're the ones who talked me into wanting to do this podcast. As a matter of fact, I believe it was Nico, and then Joe jumped right on it. And hopefully we can build momentum in the future with this, and look forward to getting a next guest. I have a couple people that I'd like to ask. It's just now, maybe we'll just need to cruise until we get out of the holiday season, because that's coming up. So maybe we can start sending out feelers for the first of the year, and get some more people on here lined up once a month, have somebody on, or have a couple at the same time. No harm in that, and because even once the COVID thing goes, we get back to normal, we're not going to still meet in the same location. We're going to probably do this, at a distance, for as long as we get the podcast going, except maybe on rare occasions, which would be nice if we could get together. But have a good week, gentlemen. And that includes you, Joe. You're a man, but I don't know about this gentleman thing. I don't know. But remember, don't make it about you. Don't let me get under your skin. Breathe.
Definitely keep me in practice on that.
Breathe.
All right. Goodbye, everybody. Have a good week.
See you guys. All right. Take it easy.
See you guys. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.